Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and stared at the alien faces around the huge table. His back hurt from 3 hours of sitting and listening to the same words over and over again. The aliens thought humans were too dangerous to be free in space. They wanted to control everything humans did. The room was built for creatures much taller than humans. Jake had to look up to see the faces of the council members. The walls were a strange blue color that hurt his eyes after looking at it too long. Air recyclers hummed loudly overhead, pushing around air that smelled like metal and something sweet that made his nose itch. Lisa Carter sat next to Jake, taking notes on her tablet. She was 28 years old and had been working with Jake for 2 years. Her brown hair was pulled back tight, and she wore the same blue uniform that all human diplomats had to wear when meeting with the council. She looked as tired as Jake felt. The Zilani representative stood up again. His name was Speaker Vorth, and he looked like a giant lizard that walked on 2 legs. His scales were dark green and his eyes were yellow with black slits down the middle. When he talked, his words came out of a small metal box that hung around his neck. The box changed his alien sounds into words that humans could understand. Ambassador Morrison, the box said in a flat, emotionless voice, your people do not understand the rules of civilized space. You build too many warships, you expand too fast. You take risks that could hurt other species. Jake had heard these same words hundreds of times. 3 years ago, when humans first made contact with alien life, everyone on Earth was excited. Finally, they would join a community of intelligent beings from across the galaxy. They would learn new things, trade with other worlds, and explore space together. But the Council did not want partners. They wanted servants. The Thurian Council member spoke next. The Thurians looked like walking crystals that changed color when they moved. This one was tall and thin, with sharp edges that caught the light from the ceiling. When it talked, the crystals vibrated and made a sound like wind chimes. The translation box made its voice sound like an old woman. Humans are young and foolish, it said. They need guidance, they need to learn patience, their weapons are primitive, but they make too many of them. This is not the way of peace. Jake wanted to laugh. The Council called human weapons primitive, but Jake knew the truth. Human ships were fast and strong. Human weapons could punch through alien shields like they were made of paper. The aliens just did not know it yet. The Nefori representative floated in a glass tank filled with gas. It looked like a cloud with eyes. When it spoke, the gas swirled and changed colors. Agreement with crystal beings, it said through its translator. Humans bring chaos. Must be controlled for good of all. The Kravex delegate looked like a giant ant with 6 arms. Its black shell reflected the ceiling lights, and its compound eyes never seemed to look directly at anything. It clicked and buzzed when it talked. The hive agrees, its translator said. Young species must prove they can follow rules before they are trusted with freedom. Jake looked around the table at all the alien faces. Every single one looked at humans like they were children who could not be trusted with sharp objects. For 3 years, Jake had tried to be polite. He had tried to work with them. He had hoped they would eventually see that humans could be good partners. But today was different. This morning, Jake had received a message from Earth. The Council wanted humans to give up half their space fleet. They wanted humans to stop exploring new star systems without permission. They wanted to put alien observers on every human world, to make sure humans followed the rules. Lisa leaned over and whispered in his ear. The president says we have other options now. Jake nodded. 6 months ago, human scientists had made a breakthrough. They had figured out how to build faster ships and better weapons. They had found new ways to travel between stars that the aliens did not know about. Humans did not need the Council anymore. Speaker Vorth was still talking. Humans must understand that the galaxy is not a place for those who cannot control their violent nature. Your species shows signs of aggression that worry all civilized beings. You must accept guidance, or you will be removed from space. The words hit Jake like a cold wave. Removed from space. They were threatening to attack Earth if humans did not obey. Jake stood up slowly. The aliens all turned to look at him. The room became quiet, except for the humming of the air recyclers. Speaker Vorth, Jake said in a calm voice. Members of the council, I want to thank you for these talks. They have been very educational. Vorth's yellow eyes narrowed. You will accept our terms? Jake smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. No, we will not. The aliens all started talking at once. Their translator boxes filled the air with noise. Jake waited for them to stop. For 3 years you have treated humans like we are children, Jake continued. You have demanded that we give up our freedom. You have threatened us when we did not do what you wanted. You have made it clear that you do not see us as equals. You are not equals, Vorth hissed. You are a young, violent species that needs to be taught. Maybe, Jake said. But we are also a free species, and free people do not accept slavery. Lisa stood up next to Jake and closed her tablet. She had stopped taking notes. So here is what is going to happen, Jake said. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all council negotiations. We will no longer ask for your permission to explore space. We will no longer trade with species that do not respect us. We will no longer pretend that we need your approval to exist. The room erupted in angry alien voices. Vorth slammed his clawed hand on the table. The Thurian's crystals flashed bright red. The Nephori's gas cloud turned dark purple. The Kravex clicked so fast its translator could not keep up. Jake and Lisa walked toward the door. Behind them, Speaker Vorth shouted something that the translator could not handle. It just made electronic screeching sounds. At the door, Jake turned back, one last time. When you are ready to talk to us as equals, you know where to find us. The door slid shut behind them with a soft hiss. As they walked down the corridor toward their ship, Lisa asked, Do you think we just started a war? Jake thought about the new ships being built in Earth's orbital yards. He thought about the weapons that could crack planets and the shields that could stop anything the aliens had. He thought about millions of humans who were ready to fight for their freedom. Maybe, he said. But if we did, it will be a short one. The news traveled fast across the galaxy, faster than anyone expected. Admiral Betty Ross was eating breakfast in her private cabin when the emergency alert came through. She commanded the human battleship UES Liberty, which was patrolling the edge of human space. The ship was 3 miles long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Betty had been in space for 15 years, and she had never seen an emergency message marked with so many red warning symbols. Lieutenant Dan Phillips burst into her cabin without knocking. His face was pale, and his hands shook as he held out the message pad. Admiral, this just came in from Earth Command, Priority Alpha. All human ships are ordered to return to defensive positions immediately. Betty took the pad and read the message. Her coffee mug stopped halfway to her mouth. Jake Morrison walked out on the council. Yes, ma'am. 3 hours ago. The aliens are going crazy. Betty set down her coffee and stood up. She was a tall woman, with gray hair and scars on her hands from her early days as a fighter pilot. She had fought in the colony wars when humans were still learning how to live in space. She knew what it meant when politicians stopped talking and started preparing for battle. Dan, send word to all ships in our patrol group. We head home in 1 hour, and tell the crew to start checking all weapon systems. Already done, Admiral. Betty smiled. Dan was a good officer. He had been with her for 3 years, and he always thought one step ahead. What else do we know? The aliens are calling emergency meetings on all their homeworlds. Our listening posts are picking up a lot of panicked communications. They seem really scared about something. On the other side of the galaxy, the Zilani High Command was meeting in their war room deep underground. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps and fleet positions. Speaker Vorth sat at the head of a long table surrounded by military leaders and intelligence officers. Kesra, Vorth's chief intelligence aide, stood in front of the main screen. Her scales were darker than Vorth's, and she had scars across her face from battles fought long ago. She had been studying humans for 2 years, and what she had learned terrified her. The humans have been lying to us, she said. Everything they showed us during the negotiations was fake. General Hasktor, the oldest Zilani in the room, leaned forward. Explain. Kesra touched a control, and the screen filled with images of human ships. These are the vessels they brought to our meetings. Small, simple, with basic weapons. We thought this was the best they could build. The screen changed to show different ships. These were huge, angular, and covered with weapon ports. They looked like flying fortresses designed for war. These are the ships they actually use for patrol. Our spies just got these images from the human border systems. Each one of these ships carries more firepower than an entire Zalani battle group. The room fell silent. General Hasktor's claws scraped against the table. How many ships like this do they have? We count at least 200. But our agents think there are more. Many more. The humans have been building ships in hidden locations that we never found. Vorth stood up slowly. His yellow eyes were fixed on the screen. What else? Kesra brought up more images. Human factories in space, churning out ships and weapons. Human colonies on worlds that should have been impossible to live on. Human miners working in asteroid fields so dangerous that no other species would go near them. Their industrial capacity is beyond anything we modeled. They are building ships faster than we can count them. And their population growth? Kesra paused. In the 3 years since first contact, they have added 50 million new people. Most other species take decades to grow that much. On Thurian Prime, the crystal beings were resonating with frequencies of pure terror. The Council of Shards met in a chamber carved from a single massive crystal that amplified their natural vibrations. When they were calm, the chamber sang like a choir. Today, it screamed. Zeftai, the eldest Thurian, pulsed with rapid red flashes. In their species, red meant fear. The humans use kinetic weapons, solid projectiles that punch through our energy shields. Impossible, vibrated another council member. Energy shields stop everything. Not human weapons. They fire metal slugs at incredible speeds. Our shields are designed to stop energy beams and plasma bolts. Against solid matter moving at high velocity, they are useless. The chamber filled with harmonics of despair. For 1,000 years, Thurian shields had made them untouchable in battle. Now they had discovered an enemy that could kill them as easily as breaking glass. Meanwhile, in the gas clouds of Nefori space, the collective minds were calculating evacuation routes. The Nefori lived in the atmospheres of gas giant planets, floating cities that drifted through layers of methane and hydrogen. They had always felt safe because solid body species could not survive in their environment. But humans were different. The Nefori had watched in horror as human mining ships dove into gas giants to harvest rare elements. The ships used some kind of protective field that let them operate in crushing atmospheric pressure and toxic gases. If humans could work in gas giants, they could fight there too. Dr. Sam Rodriguez was still on Kepler Station when the panic started. He was a xenobiologist who had stayed behind to study alien plant life. Sam was 35 years old, with black hair and kind eyes, behind thick glasses. He loved learning about other forms of life, and he had made friends with several alien scientists. But now those same aliens surrounded him with desperate questions. Dr. Rodriguez, said Ketna, a Kravex researcher he had worked with for months. Is it true that humans can survive in environments that kill other species? Sam looked around at the worried alien faces. A Thurian scientist flickered with anxious yellow light. A Nefori floated in its portable atmosphere tank, its gas swirling, with agitated patterns. Even the usually calm Zalani researchers seemed nervous. We are adaptable, Sam said carefully. Humans can live in many different environments. But your people build cities on worlds with radiation levels that would kill us in minutes. Ketna clicked rapidly. Your miners work in asteroid fields, where the magnetic storms destroy our electronics. Your colonists live on planets with gravity so strong it would crush our bodies. Sam realized what was happening. The aliens were finally understanding what humans really were. Not a weak species that needed protection, but one of the most adaptable and dangerous forms of life in the galaxy. His communication device buzzed. A message from Dr. Amy Foster back on Earth. Sam, come home now. The President is recalling all citizens from alien space. It's not safe anymore. Sam looked at his alien colleagues one more time. These beings who had treated humans like children were now afraid of them. I have to go, he said quietly. As he packed his equipment, Sam could hear the aliens talking, in worried voices. They were finally asking the right questions about humanity. Questions like, how many ships do they really have? How fast can they build new ones? What other weapons are they hiding? But Sam knew they were asking these questions. 3 years too late. The time for learning about humans through careful study was over. Now they would learn through experience. And that was going to be much more painful. On his way to the human transport, Sam passed a group of Zilani military officers studying star charts. They were pointing at human space and talking in rapid, panicked voices. One phrase kept repeating in their translated speech. How did we miss this? Sam smiled sadly as he boarded the transport. The aliens had missed it because they never bothered to really look. They saw what they wanted to see. A young, primitive species that could be easily controlled. They never considered that humans might be something much more dangerous. The transport lifted off from Kepler Station, heading for Earth. Through the window, Sam could see alien ships moving frantically around the station. Emergency meetings were being called. Fleet positions were being adjusted. Intelligence reports were being frantically updated. The galaxy was waking up to a simple truth. They had made a terrible mistake. They had threatened the one species that thrived on being threatened, and now they were about to learn why that was such a bad idea. 6 months had passed since Jake Morrison walked out of the council talks. The galaxy was not the same place anymore. Captain Nick Torres stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the new star system spread out before him. 12 heavy human cruisers hung in space behind his ship like sleeping giants. Each one was 2 miles long and bristled with weapons that could crack asteroids in half. Captain, said his navigation officer, Lieutenant Kim Hayes, we have confirmed it. This system has everything we need. 3 planets with heavy metals, 2 gas giants for fuel, and an asteroid belt full of rare minerals. Nick smiled. The aliens had marked this system as too dangerous to colonize. The star gave off radiation that would kill most alien species in hours. The planets had gravity twice what most aliens could handle. Perfect for humans. Send word back to Fleet Admiral Murphy, Nick said. Tell her we are staying. This system belongs to humanity now. The aliens had called these worlds death traps. Humans called them home. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Helen Murphy read Nick's report in her office overlooking the Pacific Ocean. She was 60 years old with silver hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. The report made her smile for the first time in weeks. 12 more systems claimed this month, she said to her aide, Colonel Ray Jackson. The aliens picked the wrong species to threaten. Through her window, Helen could see the orbital shipyards, hanging in space above Earth. Day and night, the yards built new ships. Cruisers, destroyers, fighters, and something new that the aliens had never seen before. Transport ships designed to carry entire cities to new worlds. How many ships do we have now? Helen asked. 437 combat vessels, 600 transport ships, and the new construction will add another 100 ships by the end of the year. Helen nodded. When the aliens first met humans, they thought human ships were primitive and weak. They were wrong. Human ships were just different. Instead of fancy energy shields and plasma weapons, humans used thick armor and weapons that fired solid metal at incredible speeds, simple, reliable, and deadly. On Luna Base, General Paul Anderson was coordinating Earth's defenses. His team monitored alien communications from across the galaxy. What they heard made them both worried and excited. Dr. Karen Lee, the chief intelligence analyst, brought Paul the latest reports. She was a small woman with quick hands and a mind that could spot patterns in chaos. Her job was to figure out what the aliens were planning. General, we have intercepted more council communications. They are preparing for something big. Paul looked at the data on her tablet. Numbers, ship movements, supply requests. What kind of big? They are moving fleets toward human space. Not to attack yet, but to watch. They want to see how strong we really are. Paul laughed. They still do not understand. We have been showing them exactly how strong we are. Far from Earth, on Colony World Gamma 7, families were building new lives on a planet the aliens said was impossible to live on. The air was thin, the gravity was heavy, and storms raged across the surface for half the year. The Johnson family and the Brown family had been among the first colonists to arrive. Tom Johnson was fixing a water recycler while his wife Mary tended their crops in the greenhouse. Their 2 children played nearby, laughing as they chased each other in the heavy gravity that would crush most alien species. "Dad," called 8-year-old Billy Johnson, "when are more ships coming?" "Next month," Tom replied. 50,000, more colonists. The Browns lived in the next habitat dome. Pete Brown worked as a mining engineer pulling rare metals from the planet's crust. His wife Linda managed the colony's communications with Earth. Their teenage daughter Sue helped teach the younger children. "Mom," Sue said as she helped prepare dinner, "the aliens are sending messages again. They want to know why we live on planets like this." Linda smiled. "What did you tell them?" "That we like it here. They think we are crazy." "Maybe we are. But crazy works for us." All across human space, similar scenes played out. Humans living on worlds that aliens feared. Humans mining asteroids in radiation storms. Humans building cities in places where other species could not even visit without dying. Dr. Alex Turner led a team of engineers on Europa Station. They had been studying captured alien technology and improving it with human ideas. Alex was brilliant, but impatient. He did not like things that were complicated when simple would work better. "The aliens build everything too fancy," he told his team. "Look at this Zelani engine. 17 different safety systems, quantum field generators, and exotic matter containment. All to do what our fusion drive does with moving parts and controlled explosions." His team laughed. They had been reverse engineering alien tech for months and finding the same thing everywhere. The aliens were so afraid of danger that they made everything complicated and fragile. Humans just built things tough, enough to handle danger. "Dr. Turner," said engineer Lisa Park, "we have finished the hybrid fighter prototype. It uses human weapons and alien engines." Alex looked at the sleek fighter through the observation window. It was beautiful and deadly at the same time. "How does it perform?" "Better than anything in the alien fleets, faster, tougher, and it hits harder." In space near Jupiter, Pilot Commander Lisa Brown was testing the new hybrid fighters. She had been flying for 12 years and had never felt anything like this ship. It moved like it was alive, responding to her thoughts almost before she had them. "Control, this is Angel 1, she spoke into her radio. "The new bird is incredible. I can outrun anything the aliens have and outfight anything they can build." "Copy that, Angel 1. How does it handle in combat situations?" Lisa rolled the fighter in a loop that would have torn apart most alien ships. The human pilot barely felt the G-forces. Like a dream control, like a beautiful, deadly dream. Admiral Chris Martinez commanded the defense of the Sol system from War, his flagship orbiting Mars. Every day, his sensors detected alien ships at the edge of human space. They came close enough to scan human defenses, then retreated when human patrol ships approached. "They are trying to figure out how strong we are," Chris told his staff during the morning briefing. "Problem is, we keep getting stronger faster than they can count." His intelligence officer, Captain Bob Wilson, showed the latest numbers on the main screen. "Admiral, our production rates are exceeding all projections. We are building ships and expanding colonies faster than our own planners expected." Chris nodded. Humans worked differently than other species. When threatened, they did not just prepare for war. They threw everything they had at the problem until it was solved. Other species planned carefully and moved slowly. Humans moved fast and fixed problems as they found them. "Sir," said Communications Officer Nancy Price, "we are receiving a transmission from Kepler Station. The aliens want to send a diplomatic message." Chris smiled. "What do they want now?" "They are asking about our intentions. They want to know if we plan to expand into council space." "What should I tell them?" Chris thought about the new colonies being built on impossible worlds. He thought about the fleets growing stronger every day. He thought about millions of humans who were tired of being told what they could and could not do. "Tell them our intentions are simple. We intend to be free. If they do not interfere with that, we have no problem with them. If they do interfere..." Chris paused. Tell them they have seen what humans can do when we try to be peaceful. They really do not want to see what we can do when we are not trying to be peaceful. The message was sent across the galaxy. Short, simple, and clear. Humanity was done asking for permission. They were done being treated like children. The galaxy was big enough for everyone, but it was not big enough for anyone to control humanity. On distant alien worlds, leaders read the human message and felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. They had wanted to tame humanity and make them follow alien rules. Instead, they had created something they never expected. They had made humanity angry, and angry humans, as they were learning, were the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. The council was falling apart. Emergency Coordinator Zeftai of the Thurians stood in the center of the great crystal chamber, his body flashing desperate red warning colors. Around him, representatives from across the galaxy argued in voices filled with panic and fear. 18 months, Zeftai's voice rang through the chamber like breaking glass. In 18 standard months, the humans have built 47 colonies, assembled a fleet of 300 warships, and started mining operations in 17 star systems. The numbers hung in the air like a death sentence. Every alien in the room knew what those numbers meant. Humanity was growing faster than anyone had thought possible. Speaker Vorth of the Zilani slammed his clawed fist on the speaking platform. This is madness. No single species can expand this quickly. They must be hiding their real numbers from us. They are not hiding anything, Zeftai replied, his crystals now pulsing with frustrated orange light. Our intelligence reports are accurate. The humans are simply more capable than we believed. A Nepheri representative floated in its gas tank, purple clouds swirling with agitation. Economic projections show they will surpass our combined industrial output within 5 years. This cannot be allowed to happen. On Earth, President Mary Johnson sat in the Oval Office reading the daily intelligence reports. The aliens were getting desperate, and desperate people did dangerous things. Her cabinet members filled the room, each bringing news from their departments. Secretary of Defense Steve Wilson spread star charts across the conference table. Madam President, we are tracking increased alien military activity along our borders. They are not attacking yet, but they are positioning for something. What kind of something? Mary asked. She was 52 years old and had been president for 3 years. Before that, she had been a senator who fought for space exploration funding. She understood better than most what humanity was capable of achieving. Fleet movements, supply convoys, communication increases between alien homeworlds, Steve replied. Classic preparation for major military action. Secretary of State Nancy Davis looked up from her tablet. At the same time, we are receiving diplomatic overtures from individual alien species. The Nephori want to establish trade relations. Some Thurian factions are asking about cultural exchanges. Even a few Zilani groups are sending peace messages. Mary nodded. They are scared. Their alliance is breaking apart because they cannot agree on how to handle us. On Luna Base, Dr. Alex Turner was working around the clock with his engineering team. They had made breakthrough after breakthrough, improving human technology by studying alien designs and making them better. The problem with alien tech, Alex explained to his newest team member, engineer Gary Clark, is that they design for safety first, efficiency second. Humans design for efficiency first and build in enough safety to get the job done. Gary looked at the latest creation on the workbench. It was a power core half the size of the alien version but producing twice as much energy. How is this even possible? Simple. The aliens use 17 different containment fields because they are terrified of power core failures. We use 3 really good containment fields and build the whole thing tough enough to survive a direct hit from a meteor. Dr. Patricia Adams ran the Xenological Research Division from her lab on Mars. She studied how the alien species thought and behaved. Her latest reports made for interesting reading. The psychological impact on alien societies has been more severe than we expected, she told the Global Defense Council during a video conference. 3 separate species have experienced what can only be described as civilization-wide identity crises. General Ray Martinez, chairman of the Defense Council, leaned forward. Explain. For thousands of years, these species believed they were the dominant life forms in the galaxy. They built their entire social and political systems around that assumption, discovering that humans are not only their equals, but potentially their superiors, has shattered fundamental beliefs. Dr. Adams brought up psychological profiles on her screen. The Thurians are experiencing mass resonance disorders. Their crystal bodies are vibrating at frequencies that indicate severe anxiety. The Nepheri collective consciousness is fragmenting, as different groups develop different opinions about humanity. Even the normally unified Cravex hives are showing signs of confusion. Meanwhile, Pilot Commander Lisa Brown was leading a patrol along the human border when her sensors detected something unusual. A small alien ship was broadcasting distress signals. "Control, this is Angel 1. I have a Zilani scout ship requesting assistance. Its engines are failing." "Copy, Angel 1. What are your orders?" Lisa thought about it. The smart thing would be to let the alien ship drift until one of their own people rescued it. But that was not how humans did things. "I am going to help them." Lisa brought her fighter alongside the damaged Zilani ship and used her tractor beam to pull it to safety. The alien pilot, a young female named Kesjin, was amazed that a human had stopped to help. "Why did you save me?" Kesjin asked through the translation system. "Because you needed help," Lisa replied simply. The incident was reported through alien intelligence networks within hours. A human pilot had risked her own safety to rescue an alien who belonged to a species that considered humans enemies. It was the kind of story that made alien civilians question everything their leaders had told them about human nature. Back in the council chambers, the arguments were getting worse. The Cravex representative, a drone named Worker Prime 7, clicked rapidly as it spoke. "The hive mind has calculated all possible outcomes. Military action against humans has a 73% probability of resulting in council defeat. Diplomatic compromise has an 89% probability of success." Speaker Vorth's scales darkened with rage. "We cannot show weakness to these primitives. If we negotiate now, we will be surrendering our authority over galactic affairs." "What authority?" Zeftai's crystals flashed bright white with anger. "The humans have ignored us for 18 months and accomplished more than we have in decades. What authority do we have left?" The question hung in the air like poison gas. Every alien in the room knew the answer, even if they did not want to admit it. On the alien world of Kepler Prime, Ambassador Jake Morrison received an unexpected visitor. His name was Subspeaker Krath Na, and he was a mid-level Zilani diplomat who had been secretly assigned to study human behavior. "Ambassador Morrison," Krath Na said as they sat in a neutral meeting room, "I come with an unofficial message from certain members of the Zilani High Command." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Unofficial? There are those among my people who believe Speaker Vorth has made serious mistakes in dealing with humanity. They wish to explore alternative approaches." "Such as?" Krath Na looked nervous. "Recognition of human sovereignty, mutual trade, agreements, perhaps even defensive partnerships against common threats." Jake smiled. It was the first time in 2 years that an alien had spoken to him as an equal, rather than a superior talking to a child. "Those are interesting ideas, but why should humanity trust Zilani promises after everything that has happened?" "Because the alternative is war. And my people have finally learned what your people are capable of in war." The message was clear. The alien alliance was cracking. Individual species were starting to think that cooperation with humans might be better than confrontation. That evening, Jake sent a coded message back to Earth. "The dam is breaking. They are starting to see reason." President Johnson read Jake's message while standing on the White House balcony, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were thriving on worlds that aliens feared to visit. Human ships were exploring systems that alien maps marked as death zones. Human miners were harvesting resources from places where alien technology could not function. The aliens had tried to treat humanity like children who needed supervision. Instead, they had awakened something they were not prepared to handle. They had awakened humanity's potential, and that potential was reshaping the galaxy whether the aliens liked it or not. Mary smiled as she watched a human transport ship pass overhead, carrying another 1,000 colonists to a new world. The aliens were finally learning the most important lesson about humanity. It was much easier to work with humans than to work against them. The question now was whether they would learn that lesson in time to avoid a war that nobody really wanted. 2 years had passed since humanity walked away from the council talks. The galaxy was a different place now. Fleet Admiral Jennifer Cole stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, the newest and most powerful ship in the human fleet. Through the massive viewing window, she could see 3 hyperspace routes converging at this strategic system. Control this system, and you controlled trade and travel for a dozen nearby worlds, and now it belonged to humanity. "Admiral," said Captain Ross, Martinez her second in command, "the system is secure. All alien forces have withdrawn beyond the outer marker." Jennifer nodded. The aliens had tried to stop human expansion here 3 weeks ago. It had not gone well for them. The joint alien fleet had been impressive. 47 ships from 4 different species, all working together for the first time in centuries. Zelani provided the heavy cruisers. The Thurians brought their energy shield technology. The Nepheri contributed their stealth ships. The Kravex supplied fighter swarms. The battle had lasted 47 minutes. Human ships were simply built for a different kind of war. While alien vessels relied on energy shields and plasma weapons, human ships used thick armor and kinetic weapons that punched through shields like they were made of paper. Human pilots trained for close combat and high-speed maneuvers that alien crews could not match. When the smoke cleared, 15 alien ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest retreated in disorder. Not a single human ship was lost. "Any word from the alien survivors?" Jennifer asked. "Yes, ma'am. The Nephori commander sent a message. He wants to discuss terms for withdrawing their remaining forces from this sector." Jennifer smiled. "Send him our standard response. We have no interest in alien space. Stay out of human space, and we will stay out of yours." On Earth, Colonel Tim Roberts was briefing the Global Defense Council on the aftermath of the battle. The conference room was filled with military leaders and government officials, all trying to understand how quickly the balance of power had shifted. "The alien coalition is falling apart," Tim reported. "After the defeat at Junction Station, 3 species have withdrawn their fleets to defensive positions around their home systems." President Mary Johnson looked at the star maps displayed on the room's main screen. Red markers showed alien fleet positions. Blue markers showed human colonies and patrol routes. There was a lot more blue than there had been 2 years ago. "What? About diplomatic contact?" Mary asked. Secretary of State Nancy Davis answered. "The Nephori have established a trade mission on Luna. They want to buy human mining equipment and medical supplies. The Thurians have requested permission to study our shield technology. Even some Zelani factions are sending peace messages, and the others. Speaker Vorth and the Zelani hardliners are still hostile, but they are a minority now. Most alien governments are more interested in cooperation than confrontation." Dr. Patricia Adams, head of xenological research, added her analysis. "The psychological impact continues to spread. Alien civilian populations are asking why their leaders picked a fight with humanity in the first place. Some species are experiencing political upheaval as citizens demand new leadership. Meanwhile, on the mining world of New Pittsburgh, the Johnson family was celebrating their daughter's graduation from the Colonial Academy. Sarah Johnson had just turned 18 and earned her certification as a starship engineer. "I still cannot believe it," said her father Tom, as they sat around the dinner table. "When we first came here, the aliens said this world would kill us all within a year." Mary Johnson, Sarah's mother, laughed. "Now we have 50,000 people living here, and it is one of the most productive mining colonies in human space. The aliens just do not understand us," Sarah said. "They see a world with high radiation and think it is dangerous. We see a world with high radiation and build better radiation shielding." Their neighbor Pete Brown joined them for dinner, bringing news from the communication center where he worked. "Got word from Earth today. 3 more species want to establish diplomatic relations. The galaxy is finally starting to figure out that working with humans is better than fighting us." Dr. Alex Turner was in his lab on Europa Station, putting the finishing touches on humanity's latest technological breakthrough. His team had been working for months to perfect a new type of starship engine that combined human engineering with improved alien designs. "The test results are incredible," he told engineer Gary Clark. "This engine is 3 times more efficient than anything the aliens have, and it is half the size." "How did we do it?" Alex smiled. "Same way we always do it. The aliens overcomplicate everything because they are afraid of failure. We build things simple and tough, then make them work no matter what. The new engine would power the next generation of human ships, faster, stronger, and more reliable than anything in the galaxy." On the bridge of a human patrol ship near Alpha Centauri, Captain Lisa Brown received an unusual message. It was from the Council headquarters on Kepler Station, but it was not a threat or a demand this time. "Captain," said her communications officer, "we are receiving a formal diplomatic transmission. They are requesting permission to send an ambassador to Earth." Lisa read the message and shook her head in amazement. "After all this time, they want to talk?" The message was from the Council of Species, the same organization that had tried to treat humanity like children just 2 years earlier. But the tone was completely different now. Instead of demands and ultimatums, it was full of respectful language and requests for cooperation. The message made its way up the chain of command until it reached President Johnson's desk. She read it while sitting in the Oval Office, surrounded by her senior advisors. "They are offering us full membership in the Council," she said. "Equal voting rights, territorial recognition, technology sharing agreements, everything they refused to consider before." "What changed their minds?" asked Secretary Wilson. "We did," Mary replied. "We showed them that we do not need their permission to succeed in space. Now they want to be our partners instead of our masters." Ambassador Jake Morrison, the man who had walked out of the Council talks 2 years ago, was asked to deliver humanity's response. He stood in the same chamber where the crisis had begun, facing many of the same alien faces. But everything was different now. Speaker Vorth was not there. He had been removed from power after the military disasters and diplomatic failures. In his place sat Sub-Speaker Krath Na, the moderate who had secretly reached out to humanity months earlier. "Honored members of the Council," Jake began. "Always be." Aide Lisa Carter sat beside him just as she had 2 years ago. But this time the aliens were listening with respect instead of condescension. "2 years ago I walked out of this chamber because humanity was not being treated as an equal partner. You saw us as children who needed guidance. You threatened us when we refused to obey." The aliens shifted uncomfortably. Everyone in the room remembered those days. "Today, you offer us everything you refused to give us then. Full membership, equal rights, mutual respect. The question is, why should we accept now what we could have had without a fight?" Krath Na stood up. "Because we have learned, Ambassador Morrison, we have learned that humanity does not need the Council to thrive. You have proven that you can build your own civilization, your own trade networks, your own defense systems. You have shown us that respect must be earned, not demanded." Jake looked around the chamber at the alien faces. Fear had been replaced by genuine respect. Arrogance had given way to humility. "We will consider your offer," Jake said finally. "But understand this. If we join the Council, it will be as equal partners. We will not be junior members or probationary participants. We will have an equal voice in all decisions." "Of course," Krath Na replied quickly. "That is exactly what we are offering." As Jake and Lisa left the chamber, she asked him the same question she had asked 2 years earlier. "Do you think this will work?" Jake looked out at the stars through the station's viewing ports. Somewhere out there, human colonies thrived on worlds the aliens had written off as uninhabitable. Human ships explored regions of space that alien maps marked as too dangerous to visit. Human families built new lives on the frontier of galactic civilization. "Maybe," he said. "But this time, we are negotiating from a position of strength. They need us more than we need them, and they finally understand that." The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about humanity. Never underestimate a species that treats impossible challenges as interesting problems to solve. Never threaten a people who see obstacles as opportunities. And never try to control a civilization that grows stronger every time it faces adversity. The Council had tried to make humanity follow their rules. Instead, humanity had changed the rules for everyone. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was exactly what it needed.